Picture this. A woman stands frozen in the doorway of her small wooden cabin. 3 drunk men are circling her like wolves. Their laughter echoes through the empty street. No one's coming to help. No one ever does in a town like this. And then, a shadow moves in the darkness. A cowboy steps into the firelight. His hand rests on his gun. His voice cuts through the chaos like a blade. The lady said no. What happens next? Well, that's a story about survival, power, and something far more complicated than just a simple rescue. Because here's the thing. This cowboy doesn't just save her, he claims her. Right there, in front of everyone. And those 2 words change everything. Today, we're diving into a tale from the Old West, a time when justice came from the barrel of a gun, and a woman alone was considered fair game. This is a story about a widow who lost everything, a mysterious cowboy with a dangerous reputation, and the moment their lives collided in the most unexpected way. This isn't your typical hero saves the damsel story. No, this is rawer than that, more real, because in the frontier, nothing came free. Protection had a price, safety had conditions, and sometimes being saved meant surrendering something entirely. So buckle up. This story has twists, tension, and a romance that ignites in the most unlikely circumstances. And trust me, by the end, you'll understand why sometimes the most dangerous thing isn't the threat you can see. It's the one standing right beside you, calling you his. Let's go back to a time when the West was wild, mercy was rare, and one woman's desperate night became the beginning of something she never saw coming. The year is 1876. The place? A dusty, forgotten town called Redemption Springs. And honestly, the name's ironic, because redemption is the last thing anyone finds here. This is cattle country, where the strong survive and the weak get buried in unmarked graves, where saloons outnumber churches 3 to 1, where the law is just a word people say but nobody believes in. Towns like this attracted a certain kind of person. Drifters, gamblers, outlaws running from their past, men who'd kill you for a horse or a handful of silver dollars. And women? Well, women had it worse. If you were a woman alone in a place like Redemption Springs, you were vulnerable. You were prey. The only thing protecting you was either a husband, a father, or a gun you knew how to use. Our story centers on one such woman, a widow. And on this particular night, none of those protections were going to be enough. But here's where it gets interesting. Just when you think you know how this story goes, it takes a turn. Because the man who saves her isn't doing it out of the goodness of his heart. He's not some noble knight riding in to rescue the innocent. No, he has his own reasons, his own desires, his own plans. And when he looks at her, standing there, trembling and terrified, he doesn't just see a woman who needs saving. He sees something he wants, something he's going to take. This is a story about power, about ownership, about what happens when survival and passion get tangled up together, about a woman who has to choose between danger she knows and danger she doesn't. So here's the promise I'm making you right now. This story will take you on a journey. You'll feel the dust on your skin. You'll hear the creak of saddle leather and the clink of spurs on wooden floors. You'll hold your breath during the showdown and feel your heart race when he makes his move. And most importantly, you'll understand that sometimes being claimed isn't about weakness. Sometimes it's about finding strength in the most unexpected place. Ready? Then let's meet our widow. Let's find out who she was before that fateful night. Let's discover what brought her to the edge of destruction. Because to understand why the rescue mattered, you first need to understand what she was running from. And trust me, her story, it's going to break your heart, before it puts it back together.
Her name is Emma Crawford, and 6 months ago she had a completely different life. 6 months ago she was a wife. She had a home. She had protection. She had hope. But the frontier has a way of crushing hope, doesn't it? It takes everything you love and leaves you standing in the ashes, wondering how you're supposed to keep breathing. Let me take you back to when Emma first arrived in Redemption Springs with her husband, Thomas. Thomas Crawford was a good man. That's the first thing you need to know. In a town full of snakes and vultures, he was genuinely decent. He was a carpenter by trade, skilled with his hands, could build anything from a simple chair to an entire house frame. They'd come west with dreams, the same dreams everyone had back then. Land, opportunity, a fresh start. Thomas had heard there was work in Redemption Springs. A growing town meant building, and building meant steady income. Emma believed in him, believed in their future together. She was 24 years old, strong, capable. With dark hair she wore in a braid down her back and eyes that still held optimism despite everything she'd already survived. They weren't rich, not even close, but they had each other, and in those early days, that felt like enough. Thomas found work immediately. The town was expanding and his skills were in demand. He'd leave before sunrise and come home after sunset, sawdust in his hair, exhaustion in his bones, but always with a smile for Emma. They rented a small cabin on the edge of town. Nothing fancy. One room, a fireplace, a bed they'd brought with them in their wagon. But Emma made it a home. She hung curtains, planted flowers, kept everything clean and warm. For 4 months, life was hard, but good. Thomas saved every penny he could. They talked about buying their own land someday, maybe having children, building something that would last. And then everything fell apart. It happened on a Tuesday, just an ordinary Tuesday that became the worst day of Emma's life. Thomas was working on a 2-story building in town, a new hotel the owner was putting up. He was on the 2nd floor, measuring boards, when the scaffold collapsed beneath him. No warning, no time to react. One moment he was working, the next he was falling. He hit the ground hard. Emma heard the screams from their cabin. She ran faster than she'd ever run in her life, her heart already knowing what her mind refused to accept. By the time she got there, a crowd had gathered. Someone was blocking her way. She fought through them, and then she saw him. Thomas was lying in the dirt, blood pooling beneath his head. His eyes were open but unfocused. His breathing was shallow and wet-sounding. She dropped to her knees beside him, grabbed his hand. Thomas, stay with me, please." He tried to speak. His lips moved, but no words came out. His hand squeezed hers weakly, and then nothing. His grip went slack. His chest stopped moving. Just like that, he was gone. Emma didn't scream. She didn't cry. Not then. She just held his hand and stared at his face, unable to process that the man she loved, the man she'd built her entire future around, was no longer breathing. The town doctor came, confirmed what everyone already knew. Dead on impact, probably. Didn't suffer much, as if that was supposed to be a comfort. They buried Thomas 2 days later in the town cemetery, a simple wooden cross marking the spot. Emma stood there in her black dress, her face pale and expressionless, while the preacher said words that meant nothing to her. And that's when her real nightmare began. See, here's the brutal truth about the Old West. A woman alone had no protection, no rights, no power. She was vulnerable in ways that are hard to even imagine today. Thomas hadn't left much. Some tools, their few possessions, and debt. Turns out he'd borrowed money to buy those tools when they first arrived. Money Emma didn't even know about. 3 days after the funeral, the landlord came knocking. He was a greasy man named Hutchins, with thin hair and small, mean eyes. He told Emma the rent was due. She explained she needed time. Her husband had just died. Hutchins looked at her up and down in a way that made her skin crawl. He said time wasn't free. He said if she couldn't pay rent, maybe they could work out another arrangement. Emma understood exactly what he meant. She told him to get out. But that was just the beginning.
The town that had been polite when Thomas was alive suddenly showed its true face. Men started looking at her differently, speaking to her differently. A widow with no family, no money, no protection. She might as well have had a target painted on her back. Emma tried to find work, but opportunities for women were limited. She could cook, clean, sew. She offered her services everywhere: the general store, the hotel, even the saloon. Most places turned her away. A few made offers, but those offers always came with conditions. Work in the saloon meant more than serving drinks, and Emma wasn't that desperate. Not yet. She sold everything Thomas had owned just to pay the rent and buy food. His tools, their wagon, even her wedding ring eventually, though that broke something inside her when she did it. The money ran out fast, too fast. Hutchins came by regularly. Each time his offers became more explicit, more threatening. He'd stand too close, put his hand on the door frame, blocking her exit, remind her that winter was coming and eviction was always an option. Emma started sleeping with a kitchen knife under her pillow. But Hutchins wasn't her only problem, not by a long shot. There were 3 men in town who'd noticed her, 3 men who'd decided that a widow alone was fair game. Their names were Cole, Briggs, and a massive brute everyone called Tiny, though there was nothing tiny about him. They were regulars at the saloon, drunks and troublemakers, the kind of men who got mean when they drank, and they drank every single night. At first it was just comments, catcalls when Emma walked past, crude jokes loud enough for her to hear. She ignored them, kept her head down, walked faster. But ignoring them only made it worse. They started following her, not close enough to be obvious, but close enough that she knew, close enough that she'd arrive home with her heart pounding and her hands shaking. One night Cole cornered her outside the general store. It was dusk. The street was mostly empty. He stepped in front of her, blocking her path, whiskey on his breath. "Where you going in such a hurry, widow?" Emma tried to step around him. He moved with her, smiled. "I'm talking to you." "Excuse me," she said firmly, though her voice trembled. "Excuse me," he mimicked in a high-pitched voice, his friend's laugh from across the street. "You think you're better than us? You ain't nothing now, just a woman alone." Someone yelled from a nearby shop. Cole's eyes flickered. He stepped back, but not before leaning in close. "We'll continue this conversation real soon, Emma." The way he said her name made her feel sick. She reported it to the sheriff, a useless man named Dalton who spent more time drunk than sober. He listened to her story, nodded, and said he'd keep an eye on things. He did nothing, absolutely nothing. Because here's what Emma learned very quickly. In a town like Redemption Springs, the law only protected people who mattered, and she didn't matter, not anymore. The harassment escalated. They'd bang on her door at night, shout things that made her cover her ears, leave bottles on her porch. Once, she found a dead rat nailed to her door with a note that said, "You're next." Emma was terrified, but she was also trapped. She had no money to leave town, no family to go to, nowhere to run. She stopped going out except when absolutely necessary, bought her supplies quickly, and rushed home before dark, kept every window covered, every door locked. But locks only do so much, and Emma knew, deep in her bones, that it was only a matter of time before those 3 men stopped playing and started taking. She prayed, oh how she prayed. Prayed for Thomas to somehow come back. Prayed for protection. Prayed for a miracle. And then on a cold October night, her prayers were answered. just not in the way she expected. Because sometimes salvation comes with strings attached. Sometimes the person who saves you is just as dangerous as the people you're running from. That night started like any other night of terror. Emma was in her cabin, the fire burning low, trying to read by candlelight to keep her mind occupied. Then she heard him. Voices outside, laughing, stumbling, the unmistakable sound of boots on her wooden porch. Her blood turned to ice. She knew those voices, Cole, Briggs, and Tiny. They were drunk, drunker than usual, and they weren't hiding anymore, weren't pretending. They'd come for her, and they weren't leaving until they got what they wanted. A fist pounded on her door. "Emma, open up!" She backed away from the door, the knife trembling in her hand. "Go away!" More pounding. "Don't make this difficult. We just want to talk." Laughter. Cruel, mocking laughter. "We've been real patient with you, but patience runs out, sweetheart." Emma's mind raced. She could try to climb out the back window, but they'd catch her. She could fight, but against 3 grown men, she wouldn't stand a chance. The door shook as someone threw their weight against it. Once, twice. The wood was old, thin. It wouldn't hold much longer. Emma pressed herself against the far wall, tears streaming down her face, knowing this was it. This was how her story ended. Alone, terrified, helpless. The door burst open. The 3 men stumbled inside, silhouetted against the darkness behind them. Cole in front, his face flush with alcohol and something worse. Briggs and Tiny flanking him like hunting dogs. "There she is," Cole said, his voice thick. "Told you she'd be waiting for us." Emma raised the knife with both hands. "Get out. I'll scream. I'll—" "Scream all you want," Briggs said. "Ain't nobody coming." And he was right. That was the most terrifying part. He was absolutely right. They moved toward her, slow and deliberate. Emma backed toward the corner, the knife extended, her whole body shaking. This was it. The moment she'd been dreading for months. The moment when everything finally broke. Cole reached for her, his hand inches from her arm. And then a voice cut through the cabin. Cold, calm, deadly. "The lady said no." All 4 of them froze. Emma's eyes went to the doorway. A figure stood there, tall, broad-shouldered, face half hidden in shadow. A cowboy, a stranger, and in his hand, gleaming in the firelight, was a gun pointed directly at Cole's head. This was the moment everything changed, the moment Emma Crawford stopped being just a victim and became something else entirely. Because this cowboy wasn't there by accident, and what he did next, what he said next, would bind their fates together in ways neither of them could have predicted.
His name was Jacob Holloway, and if you knew anything about the West, you'd recognize that name. Jacob rode into Redemption Springs 3 days before everything changed. Alone. Just him and a black horse that looked like it had seen as many battles as its rider. He didn't make a grand entrance, didn't announce himself. Just tied his horse outside the saloon and walked in like he'd done it 1,000 times before. The bartender went pale because he recognized him, and that was never a good thing. Jacob Holloway was a gunfighter, but not the kind who went looking for trouble. No, he was the kind men hired when they needed someone dead and didn't want questions asked. The kind whose name ended arguments. He'd been a marshal once down in Texas, but something had gone wrong. A shootout, 6 outlaws dead, and 1 innocent woman caught in the crossfire. Some said it was an accident. Others whispered he'd taken the shot knowing she might die. Either way, he'd turned in his badge that same day and never looked back. Now he was 32, 6 feet of hard muscle and harder lessons, a scar running from eyebrow to cheekbone, eyes the color of storm clouds, and a reputation that followed him like a shadow. Jacob ordered whiskey and listened.
That's what men like him did. They watched, they listened. Information was survival. The saloon was crowded that first night, and in the corner, 3 men were making noise. Cole, Briggs, and Tiny, already drunk and getting louder. That's when Jacob's attention sharpened. "That widow's gonna learn," Cole announced to the whole room. "She thinks she can keep saying no, but every woman breaks eventually." His friends laughed. Briggs leaned in. "Maybe we pay her a visit tonight, see how tough she acts when it's just us." More laughter, crude jokes, explicit threats about what they'd do. Jacob's jaw tightened. His fingers drummed once against his glass. The bartender noticed. He leaned close. "Best not to get involved. Those 3 are connected. Cole's uncle owns half the ranches around here. Sheriff won't touch 'em." Jacob took another sip. "Who's the widow?" "Emma Crawford. Husband died 6 months back. She's alone. Those 3 have been circling her ever since." The bartender shrugged. "It's not our business. That's just how things go sometimes." Jacob didn't respond. He finished his drink, paid, and left. But something had already clicked into place in his mind, a decision forming that he hadn't fully acknowledged yet. That night in his rented room above the general store, Jacob stared at the ceiling. He should leave, right out in the morning. This wasn't his fight. But he kept hearing Cole's voice, kept seeing that resigned shrug. That's just how things go. Jacob had heard that excuse before, had used it himself once, and someone had died because of it. He wasn't using it again. The next morning, Jacob walked through town, learning, observing. And that's when he saw her, Emma. She was moving fast, head down, clutching a basket. Even from 50 feet away, Jacob could see the fear in every movement, the way she glanced around constantly, the way she flinched when 2 cowboys rode past. She ducked into the general store, emerged minutes later, and practically ran toward the edge of town, toward a small cabin that sat isolated from the others. Jacob followed at a distance, watched her fumble with her lock, saw the curtain snap shut the moment she was inside. This woman was living in absolute terror, and everyone knew it, and no one cared. Jacob stood there staring at that lonely cabin. Then he made his decision. He spent the day asking questions, learning about Emma Crawford, about her dead husband, about the 3 men hunting her, about the coward sheriff who did nothing. The picture was clear. She'd been abandoned by everyone, left as prey. That night, Jacob returned to the saloon. The same 3 men were there, drunker, louder, and their talk had shifted from threats to plans. They were going to her cabin tonight. Jacob waited until they stumbled out, then he followed them through the dark streets. He watched them climb onto Emma's porch, heard the pounding on her door, heard Emma's terrified voice, "Go away!" Heard Cole's response, heard the door being beaten, heard wood splintering. Jacob reached the porch just as they forced their way inside. He stood in the doorway, took in the scene. Emma backed into a corner, knife shaking in her hands. Cole reaching for her, the other 2 flanking him like wolves. And then Jacob spoke, his voice cutting through everything. The lady said no. 4 pairs of eyes turned to him, Emma's filled with desperate hope, the 3 men's clouded with confusion and alcohol. Cole recovered first. "Who the hell are you?" Jacob stepped inside, gun drawn but held casually. "Someone who doesn't like the odds. 3 against 1. That's not a fight. That's cowardice." Tiny moved forward. "This ain't your business. I'm making it my business." Jacob's gun came up lightning fast, the barrel pointed directly at Cole's head. "You're drunk. Your reflexes are shot. I've already calculated how this ends if you draw. You're dead before your gun clears leather. Then your friends, then I walk out, finish my drink, and sleep just fine." He paused. "Is that how you want tonight to end?" Silence. Deadly silence.
Jacob's eyes never blinked. He'd done this dance before. Most men backed down when they realized they were staring at real death. Cole's hand moved away from his gun. "We were just talking." "No, you broke in, threatened her, now you're leaving." Jacob gestured with the gun. "Walk out. Don't come back. If I see any of you near this cabin or this woman again, I won't give warnings. I'll just shoot." "You can't," Briggs started. The sound of Jacob cocking the hammer echoed. "Test me." They didn't. Cole backed toward the door, his friends following. At the threshold, he tried for dignity. "You know who my uncle is. You just made an enemy." Jacob smiled. "Cold. Dangerous. I've made worse." They stumbled into the night. Jacob watched until they disappeared. Then he holstered his gun and turned to Emma. She was still pressed against the wall, shaking, the knife trembling in her grip, looking like she might collapse any second. "You can put the knife down," Jacob said. "They're gone." Emma couldn't move, just stared at this stranger who'd appeared from nowhere. "Who are you?" "Jacob Holloway." "Why did you help me?" Jacob examined the broken door. "Because someone had to." Emma lowered the knife. Her legs gave out. She collapsed into the chair by the fireplace. And then the tears came. Great, shaking sobs. Jacob stood awkwardly by the door. He wasn't good with crying women. But he waited. When she finally looked up, face tear-stained and blotchy, she whispered, "Thank you. You saved my life." "Maybe. They might have just scared you. Or maybe worse. Either way, they won't bother you tonight." "Tonight," Emma repeated. "But what about tomorrow? Next week? They won't forget this." And there it was, the problem Jacob had been turning over in his mind. He'd scared them off, but he'd also humiliated them. Men like that, they'd be back, with more men, more guns, more anger. And Emma would be right back where she started, alone, vulnerable. Unless something changed. Jacob looked at her, really looked at her. Even terrified and tear-stained, she was beautiful. Strong features, dark eyes holding fire beneath the fear. She was young, mid-20s maybe. Old enough to know the world was cruel, young enough to still fight it. And in that moment, Jacob made a decision. A selfish decision. A possessive decision. But he didn't say it yet. First, the door. "You got tools?" "What?" "I need to fix this door." She pointed to a box in the corner. "Those were my husband's." Jacob worked in silence, reinforced the frame, added a better lock, made it so the door wouldn't be kicked in without serious effort. Emma watched this stranger work, this dangerous man who'd faced down 3 men without flinching. She should be afraid of him, too, but she wasn't. When he finished, Jacob tested the door. Solid. "That'll hold." "Thank you. I don't have much, but I can pay you something." "No need." "But I have to repay you somehow." Jacob studied her. The firelight played across her face. She had no idea what he was thinking, what he'd decided. "We'll talk about payment later," he said quietly. "Right now you need rest. Keep the door locked. I'll be watching tonight to make sure they don't come back." Emma's eyes widened. "You're going to watch my cabin?" "Someone should." "But you don't even know me." Jacob put his hat back on. "I know enough. Get some sleep, Mrs. Crawford." He walked out into the night. Emma stood at the door watching him disappear into shadows. She could barely believe she was still alive, still safe, because of a stranger.
She locked the door, leaned against it, let out a shaky breath. And in the darkness outside, Jacob found his position, settled in with his gun and his thoughts. Those 3 men didn't come back that night, too scared, too smart. But Jacob knew it wasn't over. In the coming days, he'd approach Emma with his proposition, his solution. And when he did, everything would change. Because Jacob Holloway hadn't just saved Emma Crawford. He'd claimed her. And Jacob always kept what was his.
Now, you might be thinking we already covered the confrontation. We saw Jacob step in. We saw him save Emma. But here's the thing. That wasn't the end. That was just the beginning of something much bigger. Because men like Cole, Briggs, and Tiny, they don't just walk away and forget, especially not when they've been humiliated in front of their prey. Let me tell you who these men really were, and why they were so dangerous. Cole Mackenzie was the ringleader, 28 years old with a mean streak a mile wide. He wasn't the biggest or the strongest, but he was the cruelest. The kind of man who enjoyed causing pain, who got off on fear in other people's eyes. His uncle, Raymond Mackenzie, owned 3 of the largest cattle ranches in the territory. That connection gave Cole power, protection. It meant he could do almost anything in Redemption Springs without consequences. He'd been in trouble before. A saloon girl 2 towns over had accused him of assault. The charges disappeared. A ranch hand who'd crossed him ended up beaten so badly he couldn't work for months. No arrest, no investigation. Cole knew he was untouchable, and that knowledge made him dangerous. Briggs was different. He was a follower, 30 years old, thin and wiry, with eyes that never quite met yours directly. He wasn't brave on his own, but get him in a group, get some alcohol in him, and he became something else, something meaner. He'd do anything Cole suggested, anything to feel like he belonged, like he mattered. That desperation made him unpredictable. And then there was Tiny. Real name Marcus, but no one called him that. 6'4", 250 pounds of muscle, and limited intelligence. He wasn't cruel like Cole, wasn't desperate like Briggs. He was just simple. He did what Cole told him to do. Didn't think much about right or wrong. If Cole said go somewhere, he went. If Cole said hurt someone, he hurt them. It wasn't personal. It was just what he did. Together, they were a nightmare. Separately, maybe 2 of them were manageable, but as a unit, they fed off each other, got braver, got meaner, got more willing to cross lines, and Emma had become their obsession. It started the week after Thomas died. Emma was walking home from the general store. Cole saw her, made a comment, something crude about how she looked in her morning dress. Emma ignored him, kept walking. That was her first mistake, because ignoring Cole was like waving a red flag at a bull. The next day, all 3 of them were waiting outside the store. They didn't approach her directly, just stood there, watching, making sure she saw them watching. Emma's hands shook as she bought her supplies. She left through the back door. But they were learning her patterns, her routines, where she went, when she went there. They were hunting her, even if they hadn't made their move yet. A week later, Cole cornered her outside the post office, stepped right in front of her, close enough that she could smell the whiskey on his breath even though it was barely noon. "Where you running off to, widow?" Emma tried to step around him. He mirrored her movement, smiled. "I'm talking to you." "Please, I need to go." "Need to go where? Home to that empty cabin? To that empty bed? Must get lonely, all by yourself." Someone shouted from across the street. Cole stepped back, but not before leaning in close. "We're going to have a real conversation soon, Emma. Real soon." She reported it to Sheriff Dalton, told him she was being harassed, being threatened. Dalton listened, nodded, then said the words Emma was learning to hate. "Boys will be boys, Mrs. Crawford. They're just letting off steam. Best thing you can do is ignore them." "Ignore them? They're following me, threatening me." "Have they actually hurt you?" "No, but—" "Then there's nothing I can do. Can't arrest men for talking." He leaned back in his chair. "Maybe if you were a little more friendly, they'd leave you alone." Emma left that office feeling sicker than when she had entered. The man who was supposed to protect her had just blamed her for being harassed. She tried talking to other townspeople, the store owner, the hotel manager, even the preacher. Everyone had the same response. "Sorry, but it's not our business. Can't get involved. Those boys are connected. Best to just keep your head down." The town wasn't just refusing to help her. They were actively looking away, pretending they didn't see what was happening. Because that's what cowards do. They convince themselves that if they don't witness something, it's not really happening. If they don't get involved, they're not responsible. Emma was drowning, and everyone was standing on the shore, watching. The harassment escalated. They started showing up near her cabin at night, not approaching, just standing there, in the shadows, letting her know they were watching. Emma stopped sleeping. She'd lie in bed, staring at the ceiling, jumping at every sound, the creak of wood, the wind rattling the windows, the distant sound of laughter. She bought a better lock for her door, nailed her window shut, kept the knife under her pillow and an iron poker by the fireplace. But locks only worked if someone respected them, and these men respected nothing. One morning, she found a dead bird on her porch, its neck broken, a note attached. "Fragile things break easy." Another time, someone had tried her door handle in the middle of the night, just once, testing it. Then footsteps walking away, laughter fading into darkness.
Emma was being tortured, slowly, methodically. They were breaking her down piece by piece, and they were enjoying it. She considered leaving, just packing what little she had and running. But where would she go? She had no money, no family, no horse. She'd die on the road before she made it to the next town. She was trapped, completely and utterly trapped. And Cole knew it. He'd see her in town sometimes and just smile. Not say a word, just smile like he had a secret, like he knew something she didn't. It was that smile that terrified her most. 3 days before Jacob arrived, things got worse. Emma woke to find someone had painted something on the side of her cabin. One word in crude red letters: soon. She scrubbed it off with shaking hands, but the message was clear. They were done playing, done waiting. Emma knew she was living on borrowed time. Every night might be the night they finally came for her. Every sunset might be her last. She prayed, begged God for help, for protection, for anything. And maybe God was listening, because that's when Jacob Holloway rode into town. Emma didn't know about him at first, didn't know that a man with a reputation and a gun had arrived, didn't know that he was watching, learning, planning. She just kept surviving, day by day, hour by hour. But Cole and his friends, they'd noticed Jacob, and they didn't like what they saw. A stranger asking questions, watching them, following them with those cold gray eyes. Cole tried confronting him once, walked right up to Jacob in the saloon. "You got a problem with me, stranger?" Jacob looked at him, didn't say a word, just looked. And something in that look made Cole's bravado falter. He backed down, told himself he'd deal with the stranger later. Right now he had other business. The widow. So on that third night after Jacob arrived, Cole made his decision. They'd waited long enough. Tonight, they were taking what they wanted. They drank, got their courage up, talked themselves into it. She's been asking for it, leading us on, teasing us. Briggs nodded eagerly. She knows what she's doing, walking around town like that. Tiny just drank and listened. He'd do whatever Cole said. He always did. They left the saloon around 10. The streets were mostly empty. Good. Fewer witnesses. They walked to Emma's cabin, their boots loud on the wooden porch. Cole pounded on the door. "Emma, open up!" Inside, Emma's blood turned to ice. This was it, the moment she'd been dreading for months. She grabbed the knife, backed away from the door. "Go away!" Cole laughed. "Don't make this difficult. We just want to talk." More pounding. The door shook in its frame. Emma's mind raced. She could try to run, could try to fight, but against 3 men, she had no chance. Tears streamed down her face. This was how it ended. This was how her story finished. The door burst open. The 3 men stumbled inside. Cole grinned when he saw her. "There you are. Told you she'd be waiting for us." Emma raised the knife with both hands. "Get out! I'll scream." "Scream all you want. Nobody's coming." And he was right. That was the worst part. He was absolutely right. They moved toward her, slow, deliberate, like predators who knew their prey had nowhere to run. Cole reached out, his fingers inches from Emma's arm. And then everything stopped. A voice cut through the cabin, cold, calm, deadly. The lady said no. You already know what happened next. You know Jacob stepped in, faced them down, sent them running. But here's what you don't know. What happened after they left that cabin. Cole, Briggs, and Tiny didn't go home. They went back to the saloon, drank more, stewed in their humiliation and rage. Who does he think he is, coming into our town, threatening us, over some widow? "We should get more men," Briggs said. "Go back there, show him he can't—" "We're not doing anything tonight," Cole interrupted, but his eyes were dangerous. "Tonight he caught us off guard, but this isn't over, not by a long shot." Tiny looked confused. "So we're just—" "I said not tonight." Cole's voice was sharp. "But that stranger made a mistake. He made this personal, and when you make things personal with me, you pay." He leaned back, already planning, already thinking ahead. "We'll wait, watch, find out who this Jacob Holloway really is, find his weakness." Cole smiled, that same cruel smile Emma had learned to fear. "And then we'll take everything from him, including her." Back at Emma's cabin, she sat in that chair, crying, and Jacob stood guard outside in the darkness. Neither of them knew that this wasn't over, that saving Emma had just started a war that would force Jacob to make his move sooner than he'd planned, that would push him to claim Emma publicly, to mark her as his in a way the whole town would see. Because in the West, you didn't just save someone and walk away, not if you wanted them to stay saved. You had to claim them, own them, make it clear that anyone who touched them would answer to you. And that's exactly what Jacob was about to do. The storm was just beginning, and Emma Crawford was about to find out that being saved came with conditions she never expected.
Wait, hold on. I know what you're thinking. Didn't we already see the confrontation? Didn't Jacob already save Emma? Yes and no. See, What I showed you before was the quick version, the overview. But you need to understand what really happened that night. Every detail, every word, every moment that changed everything. Because this wasn't just a rescue. This was the moment Jacob Holloway decided Emma Crawford belonged to him. And you need to see exactly how that happened. Let me take you back to that night, to those crucial minutes that rewrote 2 lives. It's just past 10 o'clock. The town is settling into darkness. Most decent people are inside, doors locked, fires burning low. The streets are empty, except for the drunks stumbling between the saloon and wherever they're sleeping that night. Emma is in her cabin. She's trying to read by candlelight, but the words blur together. She's exhausted, hadn't slept properly in weeks. Every sound makes her jump. Every shadow makes her heart race. She's wearing a simple dress. Her dark hair is loose around her shoulders. The fire is burning low because she's trying to conserve wood. Winter is coming, and she don't know how she'll afford to stay warm. Then she hears it. Boots on her porch. Heavy, uneven, multiple sets. Her blood goes cold. She knows those footsteps, has heard them in her nightmares. The pounding starts, fists on wood. Emma, open up. Cole's voice, slurred with alcohol but clear enough, and that makes it worse somehow, that he's drunk enough to be bold, but not so drunk he doesn't know what he's doing. Emma sets down her book with shaking hands, stands, looks around her small cabin like there might be an escape she hadn't noticed before. There isn't. One door, windows nailed shut, nowhere to run. Go away, her voice cracks. She hates how scared she sounds, hates that they can hear her fear. We just want to talk, as Briggs, his voice higher, more excited, like this is a game. More pounding. The whole door shakes. Emma realizes with growing horror that they're not going to give up tonight. They're not going to make threats and leave. They're coming in. She grabs the kitchen knife, the only weapon she has. Her hands are shaking so badly she almost drops it. Last chance, Emma. Cole again. Open this door or we're coming through it. Emma backs toward the far wall, presses herself against it, the knife extended in front of her like it might actually protect her. I'll scream. Someone will hear. Laughter. Cruel, mocking laughter. Nobody's gonna help you, Briggs calls out. They're all inside pretending they can't hear. That's how this town works, sweetheart. And Emma knows he's right. That's the worst part. She could scream until her voice gave out, and no one would come. They'd all just pull their blankets higher and tell themselves it wasn't their business. The assault on the door intensifies. They're throwing their weight against it now. The old wood splinters. The lock strains. Emma's crying. Can't help it. Tears streaming down her face as she watches her last protection fail. One more hit. The door bursts inward, hanging crooked on its hinges. Cole stumbles through first, then Briggs, then Tiny, who has to duck to fit through the doorframe. They spread out, blocking any escape. Cole's face is flushed with alcohol and something darker. His eyes are unfocused but determined. There she is, he says, his words slightly slurred. Been waiting for this, haven't you, Emma? Get out. Emma's voice is stronger than she feels. I'm warning you. Warning us, Briggs laughs. With what? That little knife? He takes a step closer. Come on now, don't be difficult. We're not going to hurt you. Much. More laughter. They're enjoying this. The power, the fear. This is entertainment for them. Tiny moves to flank her on the left. Cole stays center, Briggs on the right. They're coordinating. They've done this before. Maybe not here, maybe not to her, but they know how to corner prey. Emma's back is literally against the wall, the knife shaking her grip. She's trying to watch all three of them at once, trying to figure out which one will move first. You should have been nicer to us, Cole says, taking another step. Should have accepted our attention when we were being polite. But you wanted to play hard to get. Well, game's over. He reaches out, his hand coming toward her arm. Emma slashes with the knife, a desperate, wild swing. Cole jerks back. She actually tried to cut me. He sounds almost impressed. Got some fight in you after all. That just makes it better, Briggs adds, his eyes gleaming. They're going to rush her. Emma can see it. They're getting ready to move all at once, and when they do, her knife won't matter. She'll be overwhelmed in seconds. This is it. The end of everything. She's going to die here. Or worse. Emma opens her mouth to scream, one last desperate attempt, and that's when the voice comes. From behind them, from the doorway they'd left open. The lady said no. 4 heads turn. Emma's heart stops. There's a man standing in her doorway, tall, broad-shouldered, his face half in shadow, but Emma can see his eyes, gray, cold, completely calm. And in his right hand, held loose but ready, is a revolver. Cole squints at the newcomer. Who the hell are you? The stranger steps inside, into the firelight. Emma can see him clearly now. The scar, the weathered face, the absolute lack of fear in his expression. Someone who doesn't like the odds. His voice is quiet, controlled, but there's steel underneath. Here's what's gonna happen. You're gonna walk out of this cabin. You're gonna leave this woman alone. And you're gonna thank me for giving you the chance to leave while you still can. Cole's hand drifts toward his gun. It's an instinct, a reflex. He probably doesn't even realize he's doing it. But the stranger does. His gun comes up so fast it's almost a blur. One moment it's at his side, the next is pointed directly at Cole's forehead. The hammer clicks back, the sound impossibly loud in the small space. Everything stops. Even breathing seems to stop. The stranger's voice doesn't change. Still quiet, still calm. Don't. Cole freezes, his hand hovering near his weapon, but not touching it.
Here's the thing, the stranger continues. You're drunk. That means your reflexes are slow, your aim is off, your judgment is impaired. I'm none of those things. He pauses. I've already calculated exactly how this ends if you draw. You're dead before your gun clears the holster. Then your friend on the left, then the big one. 3 shots, maybe 4 seconds total. Then I walk out of here, finish my drink, and sleep just fine tonight. The silence stretches. Emma can hear her own heartbeat, can hear Briggs' rapid breathing, can feel the tension like a physical thing. So I'm going to ask you a question, and I want you to think very carefully before you answer. Is that really how you want this night to end? Cole swallows hard. Emma can see the calculation happening behind his eyes, the alcohol-clouded attempt at math, weighing his pride against his survival. His hand moves away from his gun, slowly, carefully. That's smart. Now, all 3 of you, back toward the door. They move, reluctantly, keeping their eyes on the gun that never wavers. We were just talking to her, Cole tries. His voice has lost its swagger. Didn't mean nothing by it. You broke down her door, cornered her in her own home, terrified her. The stranger's voice gets quieter. Somehow that makes it more dangerous. Don't insult both of us by pretending this was something else. Briggs opens his mouth. The stranger's gun shifts to point at him. Briggs closes his mouth. They reach the doorway. Cole pauses, tries one last time to salvage some dignity. "You know who my uncle is? You just made an enemy." The stranger actually smiles. It's not a nice smile. "Your uncle, that would be Raymond McKenzie, 3 ranches, controls most of the cattle business around here, uses his money to buy protection for his worthless nephew who likes to terrorize women." Cole blinks, surprised the stranger knows. "Yeah, I know who he is." The stranger continues, "And I don't care. Your uncle's money doesn't mean anything to me. His influence doesn't scare me. And if he has a problem with what happened here tonight, he can come find me himself." He pauses. "Now get out." They go, stumbling over each other in their hurry. Cole shoots one last look back, part anger, part fear, part something that looks like a promise. Then they're gone, disappeared into the darkness. The stranger stands in the doorway for a long moment, listening, making sure they're really leaving. Then he uncocks his gun and holsters it. Only then does he turn to Emma. She's still pressed against the wall, still holding the knife. Her whole body is shaking, not just her hands anymore, everything, like she's coming apart at the seams. "You can put the knife down," he says gently. "They're gone." Emma stares at him. This man who just appeared out of nowhere. This stranger who faced down 3 men without breaking a sweat, without even raising his voice. "Who are you?" she whispers. "Jacob Holloway." He moves to examine the broken door, gives her space, doesn't crowd her. "And you're Emma Crawford." "How do you know my name?" "Small town. People talk." He pushes the door, watching it swing on its broken hinges. "This won't hold, not if they come back." The practical observation breaks something in Emma. The adrenaline crash hits her all at once. Her legs give out. She slides down the wall until she's sitting on the floor, the knife clattering beside her. And then the sobs come. Deep, wrenching sobs that shake her entire body. All the fear, all the stress, all the months of terror coming out in one overwhelming wave. Jacob stands by the door, uncomfortable. He's good at violence, good at threats. Not good at this. Not good at crying women and emotions. But he waits, doesn't try to comfort her, doesn't tell her it's okay, just gives her time to fall apart. Eventually the sobs quiet. Emma wipes her face with her hands, looks up at him with red, swollen eyes. "I'm sorry." "Don't be." Jacob looks at her, really looks at her. "You held a knife on 3 men, tried to fight. That's more than most people would do." "I was so scared." "You should have been. They weren't here to talk." He says it plainly, honestly. "If I hadn't come, they would have hurt you. Badly." Emma wraps her arms around herself. "Why did you come? How did you know?"
"I was watching. Saw them leave the saloon, saw which direction they headed, figured it out." Jacob crouches down to her level, still keeping distance. "I heard what they were saying about you yesterday at the saloon. I knew they were planning something." "You were watching me?" Emma doesn't sound scared, just confused. "Watching them," Jacob corrects. "You just happened to be their target." Emma stares at him, trying to understand. "But why would you care? You don't know me." It's a fair question, one Jacob has been asking himself. "I don't like men who prey on women who can't fight back," he says finally. "It's the truth, just not the whole truth. Reminds me of things I've seen, things I couldn't stop. This time I could." Emma pushes herself to her feet. Her legs are steadier now. She looks at Jacob, studies him. The scar, the hard eyes, the gun on his hip. "You're not a good man, are you?" she says quietly. Jacob appreciates the observation. "No, I'm not." "But you helped me anyway." "Don't make me into a hero. I'm not that either. He straightens. I just don't like cowards. And 3 men cornering a woman alone? That's cowardice. Emma walks to the chair, sits down properly. Her hands are still shaking, but less now. Thank you. I know you said not to make you a hero, but you saved my life tonight. So thank you. Jacob nods once, accepts it. You got tools? I need to fix this door. The change of subject throws her. What? Your door. It's broken. Needs fixin' before mornin'. He looks around. You got a hammer? Nails? Emma points to a small wooden box in the corner. Those were Thomas's, my husband's. Jacob retrieves the tools, sets to work without another word. Emma watches him, this strange, dangerous man who appeared out of nowhere and changed everything. She should be afraid of him, probably. He admitted he's not a good man. He carries a gun like it's part of him. He has eyes that have seen terrible things. But she's not afraid. Not of him. Maybe she should be. But all she feels is overwhelming relief and gratitude. Jacob works efficiently. He's not a carpenter, but he knows enough. He reinforces the frame, adds a better lock he pulls from his pocket, like he came prepared, makes it so the door won't be kicked in again with serious effort. The silence is comfortable, or as comfortable as silence can be after what just happened. When he finishes, Jacob tests the door, opens it, closes it, locks it. That'll hold. Not forever, but better than before. Thank you, Emma says again. Then hesitantly, I don't have much money, but I can pay you something for the lock, for your help. I don't want your money. Then dinner? I could make you something. It's late, but I have... No need. Jacob moves toward the door, stops, turns back. But there is something you should know. Emma looks up at him, waiting. Those 3 men, I embarrassed them tonight, humiliated them. Men like that don't forget. They'll be angry. They'll want revenge. Emma's face goes pale. You mean they'll come back? Maybe not them. Maybe they'll bring others. Maybe they'll try something different. Jacob's voice is matter-of-fact. Point is, tonight wasn't the end. It was just a delay. The relief Emma had been feeling evaporates. So what do I do? You need protection. Real protection. Not a lock and a knife. From who? The sheriff won't help. The town won't help. I have no one. Jacob looks at her. This moment. This is the moment he's been building toward. The moment where he makes his move. You have me, he says quietly. Emma blinks. What? I'll protect you. Make sure they don't come back. Make sure no one bothers you again. You do that? But why? You don't know me anything. Jacob moves closer. Not threatening, just close enough that she has to look up to meet his eyes. Because I want to. And because in this world, protection doesn't come free. There's always a price. Emma's breath catches. What price? We'll talk about that tomorrow, when you're not in shock, when you can think clearly. He heads for the door. Keep that door locked. Keep the knife close. I'll be outside watching. They won't come back tonight. Wait! Emma stands. You're going to watch all night? Someone should. Jacob opens the door. Get some sleep, Mrs. Crawford. Tomorrow, everything changes. He steps out into the darkness. Emma rushes to the doorway, watches him disappear into the shadows like a ghost. She stands there for a long moment, trying to process everything that just happened. Then she closes the door, locks it with the new lock, leans against it. Her heart is racing, but not from fear this time. From something else, something she can't quite name. Jacob Holloway had saved her, protected her, and promised to keep protecting her.
But at what cost? What did he want in return? Emma should be worried, should be suspicious. But all she can think is that for the first time in 6 months, she feels safe. And that feeling, dangerous as it might be, is intoxicating. Outside, Jacob finds his position, a spot where he can watch Emma's cabin and the street. He settles in with his gun and his thoughts. He'd made his move, shown his cards. Tomorrow he'd lay out exactly what he wanted, what he expected. And Emma would have to decide, accept his protection and everything that came with it, or take her chances alone. Jacob was betting she'd accept, because people always chose survival, always chose the devil they could see over the one they couldn't. And when she agreed, when she said yes, Emma Crawford would become his to protect, his to claim, his to keep. That's what tomorrow was for, the claiming, the declaration, making it clear to the whole town that Emma was off limits. Because she belonged to Jacob Holloway now. She just didn't know it yet.
Morning comes too soon. Emma barely slept. Every sound made her jump. But for the first time in months, the silence felt safe, because she knew Jacob was out there, watching, protecting. When dawn breaks, she gets up, washes her face, braids her hair, makes weak coffee, and sits by the window. Then there's a knock, firm, controlled. Who is it? Jacob. She opens the door. He looks exactly the same. The scar, the gray eyes, the gun on his hip. You stayed all night, Emma says. Said I would. He glances past her. Can I come in? We need to talk. Emma steps aside. Her stomach tightens. Here it is, the price. Jacob removes his hat, doesn't sit. This isn't casual. Those 3 men will be back, maybe with more. And it's not just them. A woman alone in this town will always be a target. I know. So you need protection, real protection, the kind that makes men think twice. He pauses. I'm offering that. What do you want in return? Jacob doesn't dance around it. I want you to be mine, not as a wife, but mine, under my protection, my responsibility. The words hang heavy. What does that mean? It means I claim you publicly, make it clear you're off limits. It means I get you a room at the hotel, keep you safe, fed, protected. He takes a step closer. You'd still be you, still make choices, but the town would know you're mine, and that keeps you safe. That sounds like I'm being kept. Under protection, there's a difference. You'd have freedom, but also safety. His eyes lock on hers. I'd expect companionship, your time, meals together, to be seen with me. And Emma knows there's more. And eventually, more, when you're ready, when you want to. Not as payment, as choice. Emma's face flushes. So, I'd be your mistress. I'd be mine. I don't care what the town calls it. Jacob moves closer. I want you for myself. I saw you that first day and something just decided. You were mine. I was going to keep you. This is crazy. It's also your only real option. He steps back, gives her space. Say no and I leave. You're on your own. We both know how that ends. Emma turns to the window, looks at the town that abandoned her, at the life she's barely surviving. He's right. She has no other options. What if I say yes? We walk into town together, right now. I get you a room. We eat where everyone sees, and I make it clear you're mine. People will talk. Let them. The talk protects you. Men will think twice because they'll know touching you means answering to me. Emma closes her eyes. Her choices have come to this.
If I agree, I have conditions. Jacob's eyebrow raises. Are you negotiating? You said I'd still make choices. Prove it. She faces him. I keep this cabin. I can go where I want during the day. And the other part? That happens when I decide. If I decide. Jacob considers, nods slowly. Agreed. But this only works if it goes both ways eventually. I won't wait forever. Fair enough. Emma looks at his extended hand. This is it. Survival or principle. Life or death. She takes his hand. We have a deal. Jacob's fingers tighten. Go pack. We're leaving in 10 minutes. Emma packs in a daze. A few clothes, Thomas's Bible, their wedding photo. Her hands shake. You're making the right choice, Jacob says. Am I? She looks at him. What are you to me, really? Something I want, something I'll have, but also something I'll protect with my life. He's brutally honest. You done? She nods, takes one last look at the cabin, at the independence she's leaving behind. They walk into town together. His arm offered. She takes it. Every step, Emma feels eyes on them. Curtains moving, doors cracking open, the town seeing, knowing. By the time they reach the hotel, half the town knows. By noon, everyone will. I need your best room, Jacob tells the clerk, for the lady, indefinitely. The clerk's eyes widen, takes the money Jacob offers, calls the housekeeper. Jacob turns to Emma. Get settled. I have business in town, making sure certain people understand the situation. Jacob, you're mine now, Emma. I handle the problems. He touches her cheek, a gesture of possession. Stay safe. He leaves. Emma follows the housekeeper upstairs to a room 3 times her cabin size. She sits on the bed, alone in her gilded cage. And outside, the town explodes in gossip. Emma Crawford with that gunfighter. He's keeping her at the hotel. Everyone knows what that means. She's his now, his woman, and God help anyone who forgets it. At the saloon, Cole hears the news, slams his glass. She's what? With the stranger, he's claimed her. Cole's face turns purple, but even through his rage, he knows. Going after Emma now means going after Jacob Holloway, and that is a death sentence. This isn't over, he mutters, but it's empty bravado. At the hotel, Emma sits in silence. Safe, protected, claimed. She doesn't know if she's been saved or sold, if she's made the best choice or the worst mistake. All she knows is everything has changed. She's Emma Crawford, widowed. Emma Crawford, survivor. And now, Emma Crawford, Jacob Holloway's woman. Whether that's salvation or surrender, only time will tell.
The first 3 days are strange. Emma wakes in clean sheets, soft mattress, sunlight through real windows. Jacob sends breakfast every morning. Real food, more than she's seen in months. The first morning she cries while eating. Relief, safety, but also the weight of what she's given up. Jacob doesn't come to her room, just sends meals, keeps his distance. Emma doesn't know what to make of it. She'd expected him to demand payment immediately. But he doesn't, and the waiting is torture. On the 3rd day, he knocks, late afternoon. How are you settling in, he asks. Fine. The room is nice. Thank you. Good. He stands awkwardly. This man who faced down 3 armed men is uncomfortable in a hotel room. I spoke with Cole and his friends. They won't bother you again. What did you say? That if they look at you, I'll break their hands. If they touch you, I'll kill them. Simple. Matter of fact. They understood. Thank you. This is the arrangement. I protect you. He moves to the window. You can go out now, walk around. No one will bother you. Really? Really. Just stay visible, and if anyone gives you trouble, tell me. Emma stands, moves closer. Why haven't you demanded more? Jacob turns, studies her. Because you're not ready. You still look at me like I'm dangerous. You are dangerous. I know. But I'll wait until you want it too. Until you stop looking at me like that. He moves toward the door. Get used to being safe first. The rest will come. Jacob? Yeah. Will you have dinner with me? Tonight? I'd like the company. Something softens in his expression. I'd like that too. That night, they have dinner in her room. It's awkward at first. They're strangers, bound by a strange deal. But slowly, they talk. Emma asks about his past. He tells her about Texas, about being a marshal, about the shootout that changed everything. There was a woman, young, in the wrong place. I took the shot anyway. Killed the outlaw, killed her too. His voice is flat. After that, I couldn't wear the badge anymore. So you became a gunfighter. I became what I already was, just stopped pretending otherwise. He looks at her, Emma. That's who you're sitting with, Emma. A man who's killed, who'll kill again, who makes hard choices and lives with them. We're all just trying to survive, Emma says quietly. Making choices we can live with. Is that what you're doing with me? Yes. And maybe that makes me as compromised as you, but I'm alive. I'm not scared, so I'll take it. Jacob actually smiles. It transforms his face. You're tougher than you look. They talk until the candles burn low. When he leaves, Emma realizes something. She'd enjoyed herself, actually enjoyed his company. That should worry her, but it doesn't. Days pass, then weeks. They fall into a routine. Breakfast sent to her room. She walks through town during the day. Evenings, Jacob comes for dinner. They talk, laugh, sit in comfortable silence. He never pushes, never demands, never even tries to touch her beyond accidental brushes of hands. The restraint drives Emma crazy, because she's starting to want him to. 3 weeks in, everything changes. Emma's walking back from the general store, not paying attention, runs into someone, drops her packages. Strong hands catch her. Careful there. She looks up. A man she's never seen, tall, well-dressed, smiling. I'm so sorry. He helps gather her things. I'm Daniel Morrison, just arrived yesterday. Emma Crawford. Pleasure. Perhaps we could have dinner sometime. Then a voice cuts through the air. Cold, dangerous. She's busy. Jacob is standing nearby, hand on his gun, eyes locked on Daniel. Daniel's smile falters. I didn't realize the lady was spoken for. Now you do. Daniel leaves quickly. Emma turns to Jacob. That was rude. He was just being friendly. He was making a move on my woman. Jacob's jaw is tight. I don't share. But you can't threaten every man who talks to me. Yes, I can. That's the arrangement. He takes her packages. Come on. That night, the tension between them is different, charged. They eat in silence. Finally, Emma can't take it. Why did you get so angry? Jacob sets down his fork. Because you're mine. I don't like other men looking at you, talking to you. But we're not. I mean, this isn't real? He stands, moves around the table. It's real enough for me. Real enough that the thought of another man near you makes me want to break things. Jacob, I've kept my word, haven't pushed, but don't pretend this is just business, not anymore. He's close now. Emma can feel the heat from him. What is it then? I don't know. but it's more than I planned. His hand cups her face. I was supposed to just want you, but you're in my head constantly. I want more than your presence. I want you to want me back. The vulnerability breaks something in Emma. I do want you back. I didn't mean to, but I do. She kisses him. Bold, direct. Jacob freezes. Then his arms come around her, pulling her close, kissing her back with desperate intensity. When they break apart, Emma rests her forehead against his chest. I'm terrified. Of me? Of this? Of how much I'm starting to feel? I know. I'm terrified too. But I'm more sure of this than anything in my life. Emma pulls back, looks up. Stay tonight. Jacob. Not because you owe me. Because I want to. Stay. He searches her face, then nods. That night, everything changes. The arrangement transforms into something real. In the morning, Emma wakes in Jacob's arms. She doesn't feel claimed anymore. She feels chosen, and she's choosing back. The transformation is complete. What started as possession has become connection. Two broken people healing each other. And neither will ever be the same.
For 3 weeks, Emma and Jacob exist in their own world, safe, together, happy. But peace never lasts. The threat comes on a Thursday. Emma's in her room reading. Jacob's downstairs playing cards. Then the hotel door slams open. Heavy boots, angry voices. Emma's blood goes cold. She recognizes one voice. Cole. She moves to her door, opens it slightly, listens. Where's that gunfighter? Cole's voice echoes. Where's Jacob Holloway? Another voice, older, deeper. My nephew says you've been harassing good people, taking advantage of a widow. Raymond Mackenzie, Cole's uncle, the man with all the power. Emma moves to the stairs, looks down. Jacob stands alone near the bar. Cole and his friends on one side, Raymond Mackenzie on the other with 5 armed men. 7 against 1. You Jacob Holloway? Raymond asks. I am. You've made yourself a problem, coming into my town, taking one of our women. That doesn't sit right. I don't care what sits right with you. You should. I own half this territory. Raymond's voice hardens. Here's what happens. You leave, today, and leave the widow here. No. You're outnumbered. Numbers don't mean much when most of your men don't want to die. Which ones will actually draw? Which ones are willing to take a bullet for your nephew's wounded pride? The ranch hands shift uncomfortably. Jacob's right. Besides, Jacob continues, you kill me, and Emma's unprotected, back to being prey. She'd talk, tell everyone how Raymond Mackenzie murdered a man so his nephew could terrorize a widow. That's not a good story, even here. Raymond's jaw tightens. You're confident for an outnumbered man. I'm practical. Best case for you, I kill 3, maybe 4 before they get me. That's expensive, messy, attracts attention. Worst case, I kill you first. Your men scatter. Either way, it costs you. Raymond calculates. He's a businessman. Jacob's made this very costly. But Cole isn't thinking. I don't care. I want him dead. Shut up, Cole, Raymond snaps. He turns back to Jacob. You make a compelling argument. Then here's a solution. You guarantee Emma's protection. I leave her protection in your hands, and I go. Emma's heart stops. He's leaving? But Jacob continues. Of course, if anything happens to her, if she's harassed, hurt, scared, I come back. And I don't come back to talk. I come back to kill everyone involved.
Silence. Raymond stares. You'd come back? Risk everything? For a woman? For my woman, yes. Something shifts in Raymond's expression. Maybe respect. You really care about her. I really do. Raymond nods slowly. All right. Counteroffer. You stay, both of you, but you work for me. Security for my ranches. In exchange, I pay well, give you protection, and make sure my nephew leaves your woman alone. Jacob looks up, directly at Emma on the stairs. Their eyes meet. He's asking. This is her choice, too. Emma has spent months running. She's tired of it. She nods. Jacob looks back at Raymond. I want it in writing. Emma's protection guaranteed. And I want a house, not a hotel room. Actual house with land where Emma can make a home. Raymond raises his eyebrow. Anything else? One more thing. Emma keeps her independence. She's free to make her own choices, go where she wants. She answers to herself. Raymond extends his hand. Deal. Welcome to the payroll. They shake. Jacob turns to Cole. You go near Emma again, even look at her wrong, I don't care about the deal. I will end you. Clear? Cole, pale and furious, nods. Say it. We're clear. Raymond and his men leave. The hotel goes quiet. Jacob looks up at Emma. You can come down now. She descends. Jacob pulls her close, right there in front of everyone. You negotiated for me, for my freedom. You're not a possession. You're still you, still independent. He touches her face, including the choice to leave if you want. I don't want to leave. Good, because I couldn't let you go now even if I tried. The next weeks are busy. Raymond provides a house, small but well built. Emma makes it a home. Jacob works for Raymond, handles security. It's honest work mostly, gives him purpose. They fall into a rhythm. Jacob leaves in the morning, comes home at night. Emma is always waiting. The town adjusts. The gossip fades. Emma is just Emma again, a person, not a victim or a scandal. Cole keeps his distance. Fear is powerful. Emma heals. The constant fear dissolves. She sleeps through the night, lives instead of surviving. Jacob changes too, softens, laughs more, comes home like Emma's the best thing that ever happened. Because she is. 6 months later, Jacob comes home with news. Raymond wants to sell me land adjacent to this property, for building, for staying, for making this permanent. Is that what you want? With you? Yes. He turns her to face him. Emma, you became the only thing that matters. Emma's eyes fill with tears. I love you. I don't think I've said it, but I do. I love you too. Have for a while. You always had the right to say it. They buy the land, start planning a bigger house, something permanent. One evening on their porch watching the sunset, Emma realizes something. The claiming hadn't been about ownership. It had been about commitment, about Jacob saying this one matters and backing it up with everything you have, about standing between her and danger. And her acceptance hadn't been surrender. It had been choice, choosing survival, choosing protection, eventually choosing love. What are you thinking? Jacob asks. About how we got here, what it means. What does it mean? That sometimes salvation doesn't look the way you expect. Sometimes it comes from a dangerous man with a gun. Sometimes being saved means being claimed, and sometimes being claimed means being seen, being valued, being worth fighting for. Jacob squeezes her hand. You've always been worth fighting for. I know that now. You reminded me.
She leans on his shoulder. They sit together, two people who found each other in darkness and chose to walk into light together. Emma wasn't taken. She was offered protection and chose to accept it on her terms. Jacob didn't just take, he waited, he earned it. He proved his claim was about devotion, not possession. That's what claiming really meant, not ownership, commitment. Saying this person matters and backing it up with everything you have. As the sun sets, Emma and Jacob sit together, planning their future, building their life. For the first time in longer than either can remember, they're not just surviving, they're home.
So that's the story. Emma Crawford and Jacob Holloway, a widow and a gunfighter who found each other in the darkness. But this story isn't about just them. It's about survival, about the choices we make when we're desperate, about how sometimes the path to safety doesn't look like we think it should. Emma had to make an impossible choice, accept protection under complicated terms or face certain harm alone. There was no perfect option, just the choice between two difficult paths. She chose survival. She chose life. And she didn't just survive. She found a way to thrive, to transform something that started as necessity into something real. That takes courage. Not movie courage with grand speeches, but quiet, everyday courage, making hard choices and living with them, finding light in dark situations. Jacob's story is about redemption, a man who'd done terrible things, finding something worth protecting, worth changing for. He could have forced Emma into anything, but he didn't. He waited, respected her boundaries, gave her space to choose. That's the difference between possession and devotion, between taking and earning. Their story started with power imbalance, with desperation, but it transformed into partnership, into mutual choice, into earned love. That transformation is what makes this powerful, because we've all felt powerless, had limited choices, had to pick between bad options and worse ones. The question is what we do with those situations. Do we let them break us, or do we find ways to reclaim power even when powerless, to transform necessity into something we can live with? Emma did that. She went from victim to survivor, to someone who actively chose her life, who made an arrangement into something beautiful. That's not weakness, that's strength. And the claiming, that possessive word, in that context, it was protection. Jacob putting his life on the line for Emma, saying, "This woman matters, and anyone who touches her answers to me." Emma's acceptance wasn't surrender, it was strategy, survival, and eventually, choice. The claiming became mutual. She claimed him back, transformed a one-sided declaration into partnership. That's the deeper truth. Power dynamics can shift. Things that start one way can transform. Survival and love aren't opposites. Emma and Jacob's story isn't a fairy tale. It's messy, complicated, but it's real. It's human. It's honest about the complexities of life and love and survival. Sometimes we don't choose our circumstances. We only choose how we respond. And sometimes the best response is finding people who'll stand with us, fight for us, commit to us even when it's complicated. That's what they did for each other. Stood together. Built something from ruins. Isn't that what we're all looking for? Someone who'll stand with us when things are hard, who'll choose us even when it's complicated, who'll commit not because it's easy, but because we matter. The Old West was harsh, unforgiving, but it was also a place where commitment meant something, where claiming someone was a promise backed by action. We could use more of that today, Not the violence, but the commitment. The willingness to say, this person matters, and mean it. To back up words with actions. Emma and Jacob's story reminds us that love isn't always clean. Sometimes it grows in unexpected places. Sometimes salvation comes from unlikely sources. And maybe that's beautiful in its own complicated way. So as you go about your day, think about this story. Think about Emma's choices, the courage it took, the transformation that happened. Think about your own life, your own relationships, your own moments of choice. Are you surviving or thriving? Are you trapped or transforming? Are you accepting things as they are or making them what they could be? These are the questions that matter, because we're all trying to survive, find safety, find connection, build lives worth living. And sometimes we find it in unexpected places, with unexpected people, in unexpected ways. Keep looking, keep choosing, keep transforming, keep finding ways to thrive even when survival seems like the best you can hope for. That's the message. That's the takeaway. We're all capable of more than we think, of finding light in darkness, of choosing love even when it's complicated. If this story resonated with you, if it made you think or feel differently, hit that like button. Let me know you want more stories like this, stories that dig into complicated truths, stories that don't shy away from the messy parts. Subscribe so you don't miss the next one, because there are so many more stories, stories of survival and choice and transformation. Drop a comment. Tell me what you thought. Did Emma make the right choice? Was Jacob a hero or something more complicated? What would you have done? Your perspective matters. Your thoughts matter. Share this with friends who'd appreciate complex stories. Help me reach people who want substance, who want to think and feel and engage with challenging material. This is just the beginning. So many more stories to tell, but I need your support, your engagement. Hit that like button, subscribe, comment, share. Be part of building something special. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being here. Until next time, keep choosing, keep transforming, keep finding your own version of home. This is your reminder that even in dark times, even when choices are limited, you still have power, you still have choice, you still can transform your story. Just like Emma, just like Jacob, just like all of us, if we're brave enough. See you in the next one.